Hi there, boys and girls. I'm back again with Because of Winn-Dixie. We left off at chapter 8. We're ready to start chapter 9. And at the end of chapter 8, we were learning about Franny Block, and Opal had just gotten invited to a birthday party and was feeling pretty good about life. So, chapter 9. Just about everything that happened that summer happened because of Winn-Dixie. For instance, without him, I would never have met Gloria Dump. He was the one who introduced us. What happened was this. I was riding my bike home from Gertrude's Pets, and Winn-Dixie was running along beside me. We went past Dunlap and Stevie Dewberry's house, and when Dunlap and Stevie saw me, they got on their bikes and started following me. They wouldn't ride with me. They just rode behind me and whispered things that I couldn't hear. Neither one of them had any hair on his head because their mama shaved their heads every week during the summer because of that one time. Dunlap got fleas in his hair from their cat, Sadie, and now they looked like two identical bald-headed babies, even though they weren't twins. Dunlap was 10 years old like me, and Stevie was 9 and tall for his age. "I can hear you," I hollered back at them. "I can hear what you're saying." But I couldn't. Winn-Dixie started to race way ahead of me. "You better watch out," Dunlap hollered. "That dog is headed right for the witch's house." "Winn-Dixie!" I called, but he kept going faster and hopped a gate and went into the most overgrown jungle of a yard that I had ever seen. "You better go and get your dog out of there," Dunlap said. "The witch will eat that dog," Stevie said. "Shut up," I told them. I got off my bike and went up to the gate and hollered, "Winn-Dixie, you better come on out of there." But he didn't. "She's probably eating him right now," Stevie said. He and Dunlap were standing behind me. "She eats dogs all the time." "Get lost, you bald-headed babies," I said. "Hey," said Dunlap, "that ain't a very nice way for a preacher's daughter to talk." He and Stevie backed up a little. I stood there and thought for a minute. I finally decided that I was more afraid of losing Winn-Dixie than I was of having to deal with a dog-eating witch. So I went through the gate into the yard. "That witch is going to eat the dog for dinner and you for dessert," Stevie said. "We'll tell the preacher what happened to you," Dunlap shouted after me. By then, I was deep in the jungle. There was every kind of thing growing everywhere. There were flowers and vegetables and trees and vines. "Winn-Dixie," I said. I heard, "This dog sure likes to eat." I went around a really big tree, all covered in moss, and there was Winn-Dixie. He was eating something right out of the witch's hand. She looked up at me. "This dog sure likes peanut butter," she said. "You can always trust a dog that likes peanut butter." She was an old with crinkly brown skin. She had on a big floppy hat with flowers all over it. She didn't have any teeth, but she didn't look like a witch. She looked nice, and Winn-Dixie liked her. I could tell. "I'm sorry he got in your garden," I said. "You ain't got to be sorry," she said. "I enjoy a little company." "My name's Opal," I told her. "My name's Gloria Dump," she said. "Ain't that a terrible last name? Dump?" "My last name is Belawney," I said. "Sometimes the kids at school back home in Watley called me lunch meat." "Ha!" Gloria Dump laughed. "What about the dog? What do you call him?" "Winn-Dixie," I said. Winn-Dixie thumped his tail on the ground. He tried smiling, but it was hard with his mouth all full of peanut butter. "Winn-Dixie," Gloria Dump said. "You mean like the grocery store?" "Yes, ma'am," I said. "Hooey," she said. "That takes the strange name prize, don't it?" "Yes, ma'am," I said. "I was just fixing to make myself a peanut butter sandwich," she said. "You want one too?" "All right," I said. "Yes, please." "Go on and sit down," she said, pointing at a lawn chair with the back all busted out of it. "But sit down careful." I sat down careful, and Gloria Dump made me a peanut butter sandwich on white bread. Then she made one for herself and put her false teeth in to eat it. When she was done, she said to me, "You know, my eyes ain't too good at all. I can't see nothing but the general shape of things. So I got to rely on my heart. Why don't you go on and tell me everything about yourself so I can see you with my heart?" And because Winn-Dixie was looking up at her like she was the best thing he had ever seen, and because the peanut butter sandwich had been so good, and because I'd been waiting for a long time to tell someone in person everything about me, I did. Chapter 10. I told Gloria Dump everything. I told her how me and the preacher had just moved to Naomi and how I had to leave all my friends behind. I told her about my mama leaving, and I listed out the 10 things that I knew about her. And I explained that here in Naomi, I miss Mama more than I ever had in Watley. I told her about the preacher being like a turtle, hiding all the time inside his shell. I told her about finding Winn-Dixie in the produce department and how, because of him, I became friends with Miss Franny Block. And I got a job working for a man named Otis at Gertrude's Pets. And I got invited to Sweetie Pie Thomas's birthday party. I even told Gloria Dump how Dunlap and Stevie Dewberry called her a witch. But I told her they were stupid, mean, bald-headed boys, and I didn't believe them. Not for long, anyhow. And the whole time I was talking, Gloria Dump was listening. She was nodding her head and smiling and frowning and saying, and is that right? I could feel her listening with all her heart, and it felt good. "You know what?" she said when I was done. "What?" "Could be that you got more of your mama in you than just your red hair and freckles running fast." "Really?" I said. "Like what?" "Like maybe you got her green thumb. The two of us could plant something and see how it goes. Test your thumb out." "Okay," I said. What Gloria Dump picked for me to grow was a tree. Or she said it was a tree. To me, it looked more like a plant. She had me dig a hole for it and put it in the ground and pat the dirt around it tight, like it was a baby and I was tucking it into bed. "What kind of tree is it?" I asked Gloria Dump. "It's a wait-and-see tree," she said. "What's that mean?" "It means you gotta wait for it to grow up before you can know what it is." "Can I come back and see it tomorrow?" I asked. "Child," she said, "as long as this is my garden, you're welcome in it. But that tree ain't gonna have changed much by tomorrow." "But I hope to see you too," I said. Said Gloria Dump. "I ain't going nowhere. I'll be right here." I woke Winn-Dixie up then. He had peanut butter on his whiskers and he kept yawning and stretching. He licked Gloria Dump's hand before we left, and I thanked her. That night, when the preacher was tucking me into bed, I told him how I got a job at Gertrude's Pets, and I told him all about making friends with Miss Franny Block and getting invited to Sweetie Pie's party, and I told him about meeting Gloria Dump. Winn-Dixie lay on the floor, waiting for the preacher to leave so he could hop up on the bed like he always did. When I was done talking, the preacher kissed me goodnight, and then he leaned way over and gave Winn-Dixie a kiss too, right on top of his head. "You can go ahead on and get up there now," he said to Winn-Dixie. Winn-Dixie looked at the preacher. He didn't smile at him, but he opened his mouth wide like he was laughing, like the preacher had just told him the funniest joke in the world. And this is what amazed me most. The preacher laughed back. Winn-Dixie hopped up on the bed, and the preacher got up and turned out the light. I leaned over and kissed Winn-Dixie too, right on the nose, but he didn't notice. He was already asleep and snoring. All right, we're going to have to wait and see what happens next. Good night, boys and girls.